Okay, week number 2. We are going to take a look at the good, the bad, and the awesome. So still we are in unit 1. So if you go to unit 1, actually before we go to unit 1, few announcements. Okay, I just created this recordings from class. So if you go here, there's YouTube playlist for lecture recordings. So I usually record every single thing I do in this class and I post it on YouTube. So quite honestly, I mean, in this class, probably you don't have to review things, but if you happen to miss a class or if you are late, you can kind of check this link and see what you missed. Okay? And in the same way, if you have some question, and then I feel like that's kind of important for everyone to know, I'll probably make kind of short video and share on YouTube using this link. Okay, and schedule. Okay, week number 3, we're going to look at Unit 2, and there's going to be a quiz. Okay, I briefly mentioned this last week. And basically, in Unit 1, I want you to watch that video, and quiz will be based upon the content introduced in that video. Okay? And week number 4 and week number 5, we're not going to meet, okay, because I'm going to visit Tencent headquarters in China. So I will not be here physically. But I'm going to have maybe 15 to 20 minutes video you can watch, and then you can work on your portfolio during that week. Okay, so I would say it's kind of similar to hybrid. I'm not going to be here, but you will have a class, okay, online. Okay. All right, let's go to Unit 1. Okay, I mentioned this. Okay, assignment 1 is study video 1. Okay, so it's not really like you're going to get any credit or score for this assignment, but there's going to be quiz. Okay, so this one is not public yet, so you cannot see this yet. But next week, at the beginning of next week's class, I'm going to make this public, so you come in and take the quiz, and we're going to have class afterwards. Okay, so I want you to watch this video, getting noticed why you need a portfolio. Some of you probably already watched it. That's great, but it's good content. So if you like to, you can watch it again, even if you watched it, and kind of prepare for quiz. Quiz will be very straightforward. It's not like it's tricky or anything. Very straightforward, but asking you some very basic questions about portfolio. Okay. All right. Week number 2, we're going to look at this, the good, the bad, and the awesome. So we're going to look at some portfolio styles and try to get to know what are recommended to do and what are not recommended to do in terms of developing your portfolios. I'll actually download it. Okay. Today's risk of being awesome, very high. So we'll look at this portfolio, the good, the bad, and the awesome. So we'll look at, again, try to get to know what are recommended to do and what are not recommended to do in terms of developing your portfolio. Okay? So this image is kind of interesting because, okay, today's risk of being awesome. So definition of being awesome can be different to each one of us, but a lot of times in this industry, you really have to be unique. Okay? So one thing, I mean, people ask me about my portfolio time to time, and then in one word, I usually give my advice. differentiation. Okay? So, for instance, if you are a 3D modeler applying for 3D modeler position, okay, there's going to be tons of competition. Maybe like 100 3D modelers will apply for the same position. Okay, and then if you really think about it, okay, 3D modelers' portfolio would be highly or very similar because they focus on 3D modeling. Okay? So in a sense, you have to create something unique, okay? But at the same time, you have to include some regular stuff that people are expecting to see in 3D modeler's portfolio. So sometimes it's risky because you want to be really, really unique, and then you do some crazy stuff. And sometimes people buy it, sometimes people don't. So you have to kind of think about, oh, yes, I want to be like outside the box, but at the same time, you have to kind of think about this fine line between kind of safe and, or I would say the good and the awesome. Okay, and we don't want to be the bad. All right. First thing, what makes a portfolio good? Appeal. So what types of things you can do to make a good appeal? Anybody? Yes.
Make it stand out.
Stand out.
Visually, make it stand out.
So visual. Okay, you said visual. Yes.
Yeah, like colors, I guess.
Colors and yes.
Layout.
Layout and
Keep it organized.
keep it organized. I mean, it could be a lot of things, but at this point, the initial appeal, okay, it would be visual, something visual, right? So you have to think about, oh, whenever people visited your website, there should be this initial appeal that you can make to impress your potential employer or client, okay? So that visual appeal is pretty important. But at the same time, again, I mentioned that fine line between the good and the awesome, or sometimes the bad, because sometimes, okay, if you put too much stuff, okay, sometimes, like for instance, like if you have like too much eye candy stuff, then people might look at it and then, oh, maybe it's too much, okay? So you have to really think about what would be the landing page of your web portfolio, okay? Or landing page with some work usually, and you really have to test it out, okay? So sometimes, yes, I do review people's portfolio all the time, but I usually say, yeah, I mean, I can give you my own feedback, but at the same time, I want you to like meet with at least 2 more professors to listen to their opinions because it's really hard to tell. I mean, it's not like there's one standardized format you can use because you have to really test out. You have to think about like everybody think differently. So you kind of try to test out your web portfolio with many people and try to accommodate different people's opinion and feedback. So in terms of appeal, again, you really have to. This is something, I mean, you will know after you are done with your portfolio. Okay? You probably make your web portfolio and visited your portfolio to see what would be the first impression of visitor or I would say visitors, okay? And you will constantly change it until you get satisfied, okay? But one thing you have to understand is a lot of times, okay, people, especially these days, we don't have long attention span. Okay? So whenever people look at someone's portfolio, they visit the site, maybe try to look at it for like 10 to 20 seconds. If they like it, they will stay. If not, they will leave. Okay? So that's why this first impression on the first page is really, really important. Okay? We are going to talk about that again later, but you try to think about it. Like sometimes you visited someone else's portfolio or professional's portfolio, and then you will see, you will know like, oh, this is something interesting. It actually made a good appeal. I want to stay here longer to look through. But if you don't get that initial appeal, you probably just like not necessarily spend any time on that page, that website, and just try to go to a different site. Okay, aim high, find the best and shoot beyond them. Okay? And find your weakest link. You'll be judged on your worst pieces. Okay, that one bad sample will be assumed to represent the kind of work an employer can expect to see most of the time. And make it memorable. Employers plow through sometimes hundreds of samples, so don't be forgotten. So these are things you can do to create a better portfolio. Aim high. A lot of times, we do have reference portfolio site. Okay? You probably have someone you look up and respect. And obviously, the best starting point is find that person and visit that person's portfolio, web portfolio, and try to mimic. Okay? Try to create something similar while trying to remember why you were so impressed by that person's portfolio piece when you visited that site. Okay? And then, obviously, you try to make it better than that. Okay? So, it's really important for you to visit many professionals' portfolio sites to understand what are common things that those good web portfolio sites possess or offer. And then you try to kind of mimic their style. You try to include all these commonly good things in your portfolio. And find your weakest link. You'll be judged on your worst pieces. This is something we will talk about later more. Okay, so this is about like quantity of work you want to present. So sometimes, like, well, I hate to say this, but everybody has kind of this self-indulgence, I would say. So whenever we look at our own work, you probably get attached to it, and then sometimes it's hard for us to stay totally professional about the work we produced. Oh, it's not that good, but I still like this part. Or it didn't come out as I planned or as I expected, but I still remember those good things about this piece, and I really want to include this piece on my portfolio site. Okay, but a lot of times, other people don't know. Okay, when other people look at your work, if it doesn't good, they'll just move on. Okay, and then sometimes you tend to think, oh, even though it's probably 80% of work I usually do, but here's I do have good explanation, and then I actually wrote this explanation why it didn't come out as expected or as I planned right on that page. Guess what? People will not read it. Okay? So sometimes you really have to be strict on yourself, and you have to make sure you want to present high quality work only. Okay? So there is this, how to say, some people might argue over this because some people tend to think, oh, while I am result oriented, I actually care about my process. Then some people actually include some works in the process. Okay? So instead of presenting the final work, some people actually present this is a beginning of the process and in the middle. And so not necessarily 100% complete, but some people like to present their work in the process. Oh, this is how I gradually made progress on certain skill set. Okay, it sometimes works, but most times it doesn't work. People usually don't care much about your process. If you are like applying for a little more established position, okay, you kind of earn that right to demonstrate your process. But at the entry level, people actually don't care. People want to find, oh, I want to find the best 3D modeler who can give me the best model with my budget. I don't care whether this person has great personality, or I don't care like this person actually so delicate and care about the process. Usually they don't care. I know like I sound kind of like a really mean person, but yes, usually they don't care. So you really have to present the best work. And then now this is related to how much work you want to include in your portfolio then. Because if you have a lot of good work, that's good, right? But a lot of times, especially while you are in school, okay, you probably don't have enough high quality work. Okay? So in that case, you still, I mean, even if that's the case, you still want to be very picky on the quality of your work, and you want to make sure you present the best work. Because sometimes, again, we're going to talk about this again later, the amount of work you want to include in your portfolio. Okay? Sometimes it's like recent trend is just if you want to create a demo reel, it's just a couple of minutes. Okay? Maybe 1 minute of your best work at the entry level, because people actually don't like wouldn't spend that much time on your portfolio site. Okay? 1 minute kind of trailer types of work at the beginning, and then you can actually prepare another video, probably a little longer, in case they want to look at your work again. Okay? The bottom line is you do not want to put any weak project in your portfolio. Then you might say, oh, I'm still a sophomore or junior, I don't have enough work. Okay, in that case, I mean, at this point, we have to make some compromise. You will try to include the best work, but you can put second best work, but then again, at the end of this semester or before you graduate, before you really apply for a job, you actually want to replace them. Okay, make it memorable. Employers plow through sometimes hundreds of samples. Don't be forgotten. There's going to be many strategies to make your piece more memorable, but bottom line is, again, okay, you might be a really nice person. If people talk to you, maybe they want to talk to you longer, but on portfolio, throughout portfolio, it's really hard to tell them. Okay, so they will just look at your portfolio, and then if it's not interesting enough, if you fail to make good first impression, they're not going to spend any time on your portfolio. Okay? So that's something you have to think about. And my background is, prior to joining the George Mason, I taught in School of Communications for 10 plus years. So I taught similar course like this. I taught some portfolio class, but I actually taught portfolio class very different to what I teach now, because in School of Communications, usually we educate web designers or app designers and graphic artists, like graphic artists with visual communication. In that case, it's slightly different approach, because you want to create a landing page with some good logo, because you actually have to prove that you can design good logo with that type of skill set. And then you try to think about, oh, what's my identity? And I really want to reflect my identity in my web portfolio so that people who can potentially hire me get to know me as a designer. And then all these things will possibly hint or share my design style and my like style of or aesthetical decision making I make in the process. It sometimes works in graphic art discipline, but not in game design. Okay? Game design, I'm not going to tell you that you have to make a landing page. Okay? No one really cares. Again, I mean, like again, I hate to say this, but sometimes they just want to look at your work. Okay, so that's why if you look around, a lot of web portfolio sites of game designers and developer or game artists, you will see, yay, first page, some like a banner on top with the navigation, and boom, there's always trailer or some the work at the center, okay, to highlight that person's portfolio or career. And again, make it memorable. And sometimes it's hard to know how to make it memorable. I mean, this is kind of such a buzzword. Okay, I can tell you, oh, make it memorable, but what does that mean? Okay, make it kind of flash, or make it like sassy. What does that mean? But bottom line is, you really have to think about that differentiation. You have to differentiate your work from other people's work. Okay? And then now you have to think about this principle again. Okay? You can totally differentiate your work, okay, from other people's work or portfolio side by creating or implementing a completely new, fresh look and style. But at the same time, it is highly risky. Okay? So you really have to do that risk management, okay, to do, oh, I want to make my site different, but at the same time, if it's too different, people might not understand your style. Okay. And what makes a portfolio good? Get to the point. Okay. This is what I just mentioned. Okay, this portfolio's homepage has nothing but a cryptic logo. It doesn't show what the person does, the range of their skill sets, not even what industry they represent. An employer will likely pass this portfolio by without a second glance. Okay, so this is again like what I've been telling you. Okay, time to time. Okay, the traditional website, or sometimes it has a landing page or entrance page like this. Again, if this is some like website that serves as something else, yes, it's nice to have a nice logo on the landing page, but portfolio page, no. Okay, you don't want to have that types of landing page because people want to get to the point right away. Whenever I visit someone's web portfolio, I expect to see their work and get to know them right away. And this culture has been set this way because sometimes, yes, if you apply for a job in a competitive like company, okay, if your job is highly competitive to get, the person probably have to review like 100 web portfolio. Okay, in that case, they are not going to spend that much time on each one's web portfolio. What they do would be something like, oh, candidate or applicant number 1 clicked to go to that site. Oh, not so good. Application number 2, click, visit site, not so good. Applicant number 3, visited the site. Oh, it looks something interesting, and then I'm going to click to see a little more stuff. Okay, so a lot of times, if you do not have the content right away, your web portfolio would be filtered. Okay, so you really have to get to the point right away. We do not have luxury to have this logo on the landing page, and we cannot afford that time, kind of like a goof around or waste your employers or visitors' time. Okay, so get to the point right away. Okay, this homepage shows a variety of different examples so that the employer immediately understands what the person can bring to their team. Okay, so again, this is somewhat, after all, you are the person who will make the decision. So here, this is one example. Okay, this person tried to demonstrate broad range of work. Okay, this person produced. Okay, so you might see something like this, or you might see something like just one video trailer types of video that illustrate that person's experience. Okay, so this one is more likely 2D, okay, based, but if you have some like a video, you might want to have that video at the center in the beginning. Okay? And loads quickly, optimize, page speed tools, safe for web in Photoshop, MediaCorp, or other video optimizer. This doesn't, this is not that bigger issue these days, because a lot of people actually has a high speed internet these days, so you don't have to worry too much about this. But we still want to think about optimization for faster loading speed. Okay, so sometimes you have to go through your images. Okay, you want to display high quality work in terms of resolution, but then again, you have to understand if someone's using the laptop or monitor, okay, you might not have to upload like 40 megabyte image, okay, because they're going to look at it in the screen anyways, so you really don't have to upload that high quality image. Okay, so web optimization is kind of something you have to think about. In terms of trailer video, okay, that's why we recommend you to post your video either on YouTube or Vimeo, okay, instead of giving somebody your MP4 file. Okay, so there could be some codecs issue. Okay, people might not be able to play your video using their own laptop or computer. Okay, so we want to make sure our video can be playable. Okay, meaning the safest way to do so is post or upload our video on either YouTube or Vimeo, so that people can kind of look at it without any other software. Okay. Web optimization is something we'll talk about again later. Okay, what makes a portfolio good? Register. johnsmith.com is much easier to remember and more professional than johnsmith.wordpress.com/portfolio. This one, I will actually let you make that decision, because you might not be in a position to finalize your portfolio yet. Okay, so in this class, you do not have to purchase a domain name. It's recommended. Yeah, once you graduate, okay, this is a kind of like a worthy investment you can make. Okay, so domain name registration probably cost about, like if you go to any like a web hosting company, they say like $3.99 per month or $5.99 per month. So it's not that expensive. Okay? So once you graduate, to get a job, to make that appeal, or sometimes when people look at your web domain, okay, they kind of think how much this person really care. Okay, so sometimes people might think, oh, this person doesn't even want to spend that like $50 for the domain name. Maybe this person is not really like really want to get this job, this position. Okay, so sometimes people might question about like how much you want that job. Okay, so if you kind of use this johnsmith.wordpress.com, like because they probably make that assumption. Oh, this person doesn't even want to spend like $50 on the personal domain. Maybe this person doesn't really care that much. Okay, so but again, I highly recommend you to get the professional customized domain, but not necessarily for this class. Okay, you can actually wait until you graduate or you apply for the real position. Okay. And testing and feedback. Make sure your site is easy to use. Have strangers test it and watch how they try to use it. This one would be related to user experience testing. Okay? So first, your website should be easy to follow, easy to navigate. Okay? And in terms of feedback, yeah, try to get people's feedback like all the time. Okay? You can ask your peers, your classmates, or your friends, even your family. Okay? So they'll tell you something, and then again, this is important because sometimes, okay, we want to be really, really unique. Sometimes people make kind of crazy website thinking, oh, this is really unique, and then everyone will dig it. But in reality, some people might not be comfortable to navigate through your website. Maybe it gets filtered out. Okay? So always you have to test and get feedbacks. So after all, I mean, this kind of summarize today's lecture because you have to be an to make an awesome portfolio, you have to take risk. But then again, that risk management, there's fine line between awesome website or too crazy or not necessarily comfortable website, a web portfolio. So you have to really, once you make your web portfolio, you have to kind of test it out with as many people as you can get. Okay. All right, things to watch out for. Not having a digital portfolio at all. Okay. Using confusing or unprofessional gallery sites, such as DeviantArt. Using class assignments. Make unique samples as soon as you can. Don't start with your resume, a long-winded narrative of your life story, or flash features that take a long time to load. Okay, get straight to the goods. And no sketches, no fan art. Be competitive and be original. So again, these are things we will try to use again and again. So you'll get reminded of these things time to time. But the bottom line is, okay, this is a good starting point for you to think about. Try to visualize your web portfolio, even though it might be kind of blurry at this point, but try to visualize your web portfolio and try to kind of gather your assets and try to kind of think about how you can complete that web portfolio site you visualize now, okay? So when you do that, you can definitely use all these things we just talked about today, Okay, so we have 1 semester to build web portfolio. Okay, I mean this is 1 credit course, meaning we expect to use less time, okay, compared to other 3 credit hours class. Okay, so this should be, I mean, you really have to be wise to spend your time, okay, to get to the point and build this web portfolio. To do that, again, I'm going to guide you some, give you guidelines. So probably this is good time for you to think about like gathering your assets, what you have and what you want to include in your portfolio. But at the same time, this would be a good time for you to kind of do some little research, look at other people's portfolio sites, and then kind of try to think about, oh, that style I really like, and I'm going to create something similar but better. Okay. Any question? Okay, so this is pretty much it for today. And before I let you go, a few things again. If you look at the schedule, okay, week number 3, preparing to content, create the portfolio, there will be a quiz. Okay, it's going to be an online quiz in Unit 1. If you already watch it, maybe you can skim through, but I want you to watch this video. So for this week, there's no other assignment, but I want you to watch this video. And beginning of next week, okay, so at 6:20, I'm going to make this quiz site public. So you come in and take the quiz. I'm expecting probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes to finish. And then we're going to move on to the Unit 2 to talk about how to how to start working on your portfolio by gathering your content. Is that clear? Any question? All right, then I will see you guys next week, and have a wonderful evening.
That's what I just want to say.